So this is a Mu room, as I mentioned yesterday, okay? So and again, okay, Magnetic Shield Corporation, you see where it says Netic, Conetic. So my grandfather back in the 50s, Perfection Mica, because perfection, see at the very bottom right here of the circle, it says Perfection Mica. Yeah, because it started out as a mining company. My grandfather was the major owner of it, but he had a partner. When he died in 63, this is how the whole fallout happened, where he's like been erased from being any part of it. And that's not about, I'm just saying that he pivoted and added Magnetic Shield onto Perfection Mica, and that's what they're known as today. But they are a competitor to what my grandfather's son went on to do, because he did the same thing. He opened another. So they bid for many of the same contracts, okay? So, however, it was my grandfather, okay? In the 50s, it was him. And this would be an example of a Mu metal, a Mu room. Okay, now this one has shelves. This is what my mother remembers it looking like when they would go to the electronic trade shows when she would go with her father. Okay, is that it was just like this. It was black. That's not my mother. But what this did for NASA was the Mu metal, it won't keep the magnetic field out, but this metal, Mu metal, will absorb the magnetic field. And it's very thin like that. You can cut through it, okay? So this is how NASA was able to create environments where the magnetic field is not interfering with anything when you're inside it, okay? So the conetic and netic are specialized metals and foils used specifically for magnetic shielding. I mean, it's called magnetic shielding for a reason, okay? Because it's trying to prevent the Prince of Darkness, the Prince of the Air. Even though all of science and all of technology would see that, no, that barrier protects us from, no, God keeps it in place. Why? Because man doesn't get it. Man can come up with all of this. This is nothing against my grandfather, okay? Nothing at all, okay? God allows these things to take place so that man will maybe eventually at some point, again, could be another 5,000 years before man gets it, that man asks the right questions. Not that the magnetic field is there to protect you, because ultimately only God protects you. But since you need this to be away from the magnetic field, if we stopped separating, if science, technology stopped separating the Bible from everything, okay, they would realize where their mistakes are, okay? But that's likely, it's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't imagine. So while they look like ordinary steel, okay, like it's while they look like ordinary steel, aluminum, they're high-tech alloys designed to redirect magnetic field lines away from sensitive components, okay? However, this kind of metal obviously is soft, okay? So the components, if you took a hammer to it, it could easily mess up the components. That's where, your Hippocrates 50 comes in, I'm pretty sure, which they didn't do back then. But today do. That's your cobalt, vanadium, and iron. And the vanadium keeps it all glued together. So, because really once you were to cause major damage to a Mu room back, like say in this day, it would destroy it could hurt the shielding. So now, if I understand it correctly, okay? Like a Faraday cage is different because it reflects or cancels the electrical field. It moves the charges away. The Mu metal, like this, okay? This is redirects the magnetic fields around the enclosure. It's like it soaks it up as a sponge. Instead of the magnetic field lines passing through the room, they are soaked up by the Mu metal walls and funneled through the material itself. That's okay. So that's what my grandfather had figured out. So then when you get to modern day, because they still make mu rooms, okay, they're obviously way more advanced now, but in physics you can't really block the magnetic field. Of course you can't, because it's all around us. Instead, a mu room acts like a high-speed bypass lane for magnetic flux. Magnetic field lines are lazy. They want to take the path of least resistance. The Prince of Darkness would, of course. Again, I know these shielding companies would totally not even understand what I'm trying to say about the Prince of Darkness, because nobody puts all of this into common sense. Wants to take the path of least resistance, or more technically, the path of highest permeability. Mu metal has incredibly high permeability. It's much easier for magnetic fields to travel through the metal than through the air. So instead of the magnetic fields passing through the room, they are soaked up by the mu metal walls and funneled through the material itself. The field lines curve around the outside of the room, leaving the inside with a near zero magnetic field. Obviously, this isn't just used for NASA. This is used for, MRI machines, all that. It's advanced as time has gone on, okay? And then when you get into your Hipparco 50, this is where you get into the shielding sandwich, let's say. In high-end application, engineers actually use Hipparco 50 on the outside to soak up a massive, strong magnetic field, and then a layer of mu metal, that's mu metal, on the inside to clean up the tiny leftover traces. Think of Hipparco, that's your cobalt, vanadium, iron, basically. The Hipparco as the heavy-duty umbrella that stops the downpour, and mu metal, which is what that is, as the sealant that stops the microscopic humidity. So that's it's all a matter of, and the reason they call it mu metal, mu, is because in physics and engineering, the Greek letter mu is the symbol to represent permeability. Permeability is a measure of how easily a material can soak up or conduct magnetic field lines. So do you see, everything is about the magnetic field around us, and yet what did God say in the Bible? That the prince of the darkness is the prince of the air. It's the magnetic field. So my message, even though, I'm not into, I don't, do any magnetic shielding, even though my grandfather was involved in it. I don't, of course. I have nothing to do with Hipparco 50, any of that, okay? I'm not the tech savvy kind of person, but I am the Bible savvy person. And I'm saying the magnetic field, that they're always trying to, they're always trying to create things, and yet they all would say the magnetic field protects us. Yeah, if we could find a way to take down the magnetic field, it would likely destroy us, but God isn't going to let us do that. I know that science and technology don't accept those things because it's, it's all, well, we don't have evidence. Okay, so it doesn't matter. I have the evidence, I know it, because of I wouldn't be alive or sober today. I wouldn't. I know the path. The path is see, even though the field of the magnetic field likes the path of least resistance, yeah, God takes you down the path less traveled, okay, when you really want to know him. So I know him, and he could take down that magnetic field anytime, and likely you would see even bigger how much what he's created, okay? But not until man realizes your will not do it. You can come up with all these things, you can spend all this money on all these things, but ultimately, have you gotten any further? Oh, you've got really just, a little bit, get MRIs done, all of that. There's been some, progress here and there, but the true progress where God wants you to be is you need to surrender to him. He can take that. Then you don't need to create any of this. He'll take the Prince of Darkness, the magnetic field, down.